Hey everyone, and welcome back to Books to Riches. We're diving deep into the power of impossible thinking today, to see how it can help us achieve financial freedom. And the book, it really explores how our mental models, those kind of like ingrained ways we see the world, they can actually hold us back financially, without us even realizing it.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting about this book is it uses a very unique example to kind of illustrate this point. Remember that Bugs Bunny
Oh
thing?
yeah, it
Oh.
talks about the study. They show people like fake pictures of Bugs Bunny hanging out with Mickey Mouse at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And later, some of them, they actually like remembered meeting bugs there, even though it's, obviously impossible.
Right, and that's such a perfect example. It shows just how powerful our mental models can be. We all have these ideas about money and risk and what's even possible financially, but sometimes those models can, really limit us without us even knowing it. But
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, okay, let's kind of break down these mental models. How do they actually, how do they play out in our financial lives?
Well, you can think of mental models as like a lens. The lens you're using to see your finances through. They're like the assumptions and stories we tell ourselves, about money, for instance. Like if your mental model is telling you money is scarce or it's hard to come by, it's gonna affect how you earn and save, invest, and even, spend money. You might avoid taking risks, maybe even settle for less because you might really believe like that abundance is possible for you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's like, the book compares financial breakthroughs to that whole Roger Bannister thing,
Yeah.
breaking the 4-minute mile. For years, people thought it was just, impossible. And once he did it, it was like everyone started breaking that barrier.
Yeah. Right. And it's not like humans suddenly became, faster. It was the mental model that changed. You see, once people saw that it was possible, they opened themselves up to achieving it. It's the same with finances. If you're stuck in a mental model that's telling you I'll never be wealthy, you're probably going to stay trapped in that reality. But but if you can shift your thinking, you start seeing opportunities you never even noticed before.
Yeah, so much of it is mindset, right? So how can we actually start to, to shift those mental models that might be holding us back? Because the
Yeah.
book, it seems to have a lot of strategies, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the most interesting ones is, uh, the idea of challenging the routine. We can get so used to doing things a certain way, that we miss out on new possibilities.
Yeah, it's like being on autopilot.
Exactly. Like take the example of Enron. They were praised for their innovative financial strategies, but ultimately they collapsed because of massive accounting fraud. They were so stuck in their own kind of complex mental model of success that they just missed all the warning signs.
Yeah, that's a cautionary tale for sure. So how do we break free from that, from that autopilot mode when it comes to our finances?
The book suggests asking yourself some key questions like, where am I on autopilot with my finances? What assumptions am I just blindly accepting? And could these assumptions be limiting my potential?
Yeah, I like that. It's all about, bringing those unconscious beliefs to the surface so we can examine them. What other strategies does the book suggest?
Well, another powerful one, it's the idea of looking at the world through your customer's eyes. The book uses the example of Starbucks. Before Starbucks came along, the dominant coffee models were, like cheap diner coffee or instant coffee at home.
Right, but Starbucks, they tapped into this desire,
Right.
for a more sophisticated coffee experience.
Exactly. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, he saw this unmet need. People wanted a third place
Yeah,
between work and home, where they could enjoy a high quality coffee. It revolutionized the entire industry.
it really did. It makes you wonder, what unmet financial needs are people around us expressing? Are there any problems we could solve, that could lead to a profitable venture?
That's a great question to be asking yourself. Paying attention to those needs, the
Yeah.
spoken ones and the unspoken ones, that can reveal, well, some incredible financial
I
opportunities.
think that's a really good point. And building on that, the book also emphasizes that even small changes can have a big impact. They use this fascinating example about the New York City Police Department back in the 90s. Crime was, I mean, it was rampant, but they found that like cracking down on these what seems like minor offenses,
Mhm.
like graffiti and fare evasion, that actually helped turn things around.
Right. This is the broken windows theory. The idea that if you address small signs of disorder, you can prevent more serious crime.
Yeah, exactly. Like a ripple effect.
Mm.
By focusing on those small things, They kind of shifted the whole perception of safety in the city. And guess what? Felonies, I mean, they plummeted.
It's a powerful reminder that you don't really need to make, massive changes to improve your financial life. Sometimes it's just about identifying one small habit to change, like maybe tracking your spending,
Yeah.
automating your savings, maybe even negotiating a lower interest rate. Those small wins can make a huge difference over time.
I love that. So takeaway number one for our listeners, start by identifying one small financial habit that you can change today. It could be, I mean, as simple as making coffee at home instead of, buying it every day. You might be surprised by the ripple effect it creates.
Absolutely. And while you're, making those changes, remember to tune in to your intuition. The book has this great story about a businessman, who almost got scammed, but he ended up trusting his gut feeling, and it saved him from a disastrous investment.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah.
It's so easy to ignore those gut feelings, but they can be really powerful, especially when it comes to money.
Right. Think about a time when you had a really strong feeling about a financial decision, even if you couldn't, explain it logically. Maybe you felt uneasy about a deal, or maybe hesitant to make a certain purchase. Learning to trust your intuition can be a very valuable tool.
I think that's really good advice. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about already, but I can already hear them asking, how do I actually dismantle these old ways of thinking?
Mm-hmm.
It can't be easy to change those, ingrained mental models, right?
You're right. It's not always easy. It takes effort for sure, and a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone. But we'll explore some practical strategies from The Power of Impossible Thinking that can help you build a new financial infrastructure and break free from those limiting beliefs. So stick around.
Yeah, we'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to Books to Riches. We're exploring, practical strategies from The Power of Impossible Thinking to help you achieve, financial freedom. Before the break, we talked about how we need to shift those limiting mental models, the ones that are, holding us back financially. Now, let's get into how to actually dismantle those old ways of thinking and build a foundation for new and more empowering financial habits.
One of the most helpful analogies in the book is the shift from the classic Ozzie and Harriet family model to the more diverse family structures that we see today. Back in the 1950s, the Ozzie and Harriet model was the norm. Dad goes to work, mom stays at home. It was like a simple, well-defined structure.
But as society evolved, so did family models.
Exactly. And this evolution, it wasn't just about, changing mindsets. The whole infrastructure surrounding families, it had to adapt. Laws changed, workplaces adjusted, and social support systems, they evolved to accommodate these new realities.
So you're saying that shifting mental models requires more than just, thinking differently. We need to build a new infrastructure to support those new ways of thinking and behaving.
Exactly. And when we apply this to our finances, it means taking a close look at the systems and habits that shape our financial lives.
Okay, so how do we actually start to, dismantle that old financial order and build something new? The book mentions recognizing how the expectations of others can keep us tied to a particular financial model. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, it's a powerful point. We're often influenced by the financial expectations of our family and friends, even society as a whole. Think about the example of Starbucks. They set this incredibly ambitious goal to expand from 6,000 to 10,000 stores, worldwide in just 3 years.
Wow, that must put a lot of pressure on them to innovate and adapt their approach.
Absolutely. They couldn't just rely on their original model of wholly owned stores. They had to explore joint ventures and partnerships, even, licensing their brand to supermarkets and gas stations. These were strategies that, they might not have aligned with their initial vision, but they were necessary to meet those external expectations.
That's a great example of how sometimes, the expectations of others can push us to grow in ways that we wouldn't have imagined.
Yeah.
But it also raises the question, how do we balance meeting those expectations with staying true to our own financial values and goals?
That's where That's where understanding your existing financial infrastructure becomes crucial. You can think of it as your financial operating system. It includes everything from your budgeting methods to the institutions you use, how you track investments, even the financial advice you rely on.
Yeah, and even your physical environment can be a part of that infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? Now, I'm way more productive with my finances when I have a dedicated workspace.
Hmm.
Clutter and chaos, I mean, they don't exactly inspire financial clarity.
You're right. And this leads to the next crucial step, being mindful of irreversible investments in a particular financial model. The book uses the cautionary tale of the AOL-Time Warner merger. It was supposed to be this revolutionary marriage of content and technology, this new model for the digital age.
But
Yeah.
it ended up being a financial disaster.
Exactly. They invested heavily in an infrastructure, that was
Yeah.
designed to support this new model. And when it failed to deliver, the losses were, staggering. It's a reminder that we need to be cautious about going all in on any single financial strategy, no matter how promising it seems.
So diversification isn't just about your investment portfolio. It's about your overall financial approach as well.
Precisely. And while you're, evaluating those big picture decisions, remember that you can also make a huge impact by starting with small changes.
Which brings us back to the broken windows theory.
Yes. Just like addressing
Yeah.
those minor offenses in New York City, had a ripple effect. Small changes in your financial habits can create a cascade of positive impacts.
So it's not about, trying to overhaul your entire financial life overnight. It's about taking those small, consistent steps that create momentum.
Exactly. It could be setting up automatic transfers to your savings account, maybe negotiating a lower interest rate on your credit card, or even just, packing your lunch instead of eating out every day.
Yeah, those small wins, I mean, they can add up quickly, and they
Yeah.
give you a sense of, control over your finances. And once you start to see that progress, it can be incredibly motivating to keep going. Now, I'm really excited to get into this next section because the book highlights some fascinating case studies of individuals who embodied these principles, and they achieved extraordinary financial success. They call them impossible thinkers.
That's right. These are the people who really challenge those conventional financial models, and they redefine success on their own terms. We'll be diving into the stories of Oprah Winfrey, Andy Grove, and Howard Schultz. Each of them transformed entire industries, with their unique mental models and approaches to wealth creation.
I can't wait to hear what insights we can glean from their journeys. I think it'll be really fascinating.
Welcome back to Books to Riches. We're wrapping up our deep dive into the power of impossible thinking and how it can, help you achieve financial freedom. Before we, took a break, we were going to explore some real-life examples of people who achieved, extraordinary success by challenging those conventional financial models, what the book calls impossible thinkers.
Right. These are the people who,
Yeah.
who really embody the book's principles. They looked at the world differently. They questioned the assumptions everyone else just kind of took for granted.
Yeah.
And they created their own versions of success. I'm excited to dive into their story.
Let's start with Oprah Winfrey. She built a media empire, by connecting so authentically with her audience. It's an incredible story of, defying the odds. Oprah came from, very humble beginnings, but she had this incredible ability to tap into the human experience and share her own struggles and triumphs in a way that resonated with, millions of people.
Yeah, she challenged that traditional talk show format, which often felt, superficial, and she created a space where people felt like seen and heard. She understood that people, they crave more than just entertainment. They're looking for inspiration and connection and, tools for personal growth.
And she delivered that in spades. Her book club, her magazine, her network, she created this whole ecosystem, that empowers people to live their best lives. What's so striking about her story is that it all stemmed from her willingness to challenge the status quo and create something truly, unique and authentic.
It's a great example of how drawing on your personal experiences can lead to a whole new model for success. Now let's talk about Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel. He's a fascinating example of someone who led a company through like explosive growth.
Yeah.
In, a rapidly changing industry.
Andy Grove, he was, I mean, brilliant, a true visionary leader. He was known for his intense focus on innovation and his, almost paranoid obsession with staying ahead of the curve. In the
Wow.
tech world, I mean, that mindset it's essential. What's interesting is that he recognized the limitations of his own, engineering background.
I mean,
Yeah.
he understood that Intel needed more than just, great technology to succeed.
Exactly. He knew that they needed to embrace marketing and branding, something that was, pretty foreign to their engineering-driven culture.
Yeah, and that's how the Intel Inside campaign was born, right? They took this, technical component, the microprocessor, and they turned it into this like symbol of quality and innovation.
Yeah.
That consumers, I mean, they actively sought out. It was a stroke of genius.
It was a masterclass in shifting mental models. They made something complex and technical, accessible, and desirable to the average consumer.
Right. And finally, let's talk about Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. He revolutionized, I mean, an entire industry by creating an experience that people were, willing to pay a premium for.
It is amazing to think about, that people routinely pay $4 or $5 for a cup of coffee. But he created an atmosphere, a sense of community that people are, clearly willing to pay for. He saw this opportunity to elevate the, coffee house experience, create a third place between home and work where people could connect and enjoy a high-quality coffee experience. And he was, I mean, relentless in pursuing that vision, even when, people doubted him.
Remember when they tried to launch a music store within Starbucks? It was like a total flop. But they learned from it,
Yeah.
and kept moving forward.
Exactly. That's the hallmark of a growth mindset. You experiment, you take risks, you learn from your mistakes. And ultimately, Starbucks succeeded by staying true to its core value proposition, creating a unique and, welcoming coffeehouse experience.
So as we look at these, impossible thinkers, Oprah, Andy Grove, and Howard Schultz, what are the common threads that connect their stories?
Well, they all drew on their personal experiences, to challenge those existing models and create new opportunities. They were adaptable and willing to experiment and continually, refine their approach. And perhaps most importantly, they were passionate about their visions, and they persisted even when they faced doubt and setbacks.
I understood that, success isn't about following a predetermined path. It's about forging your own way, challenging the rules and believing in the power of what the book calls impossible thinking.
That's the key takeaway here. Achieving financial freedom or any kind of, extraordinary success, it starts with questioning the limits you've placed on yourself.
What seemingly impossible goal could you unlock? But, shifting your mental models, what opportunities might be hidden in plain sight, just waiting for you to see them with fresh eyes.
That's, such an inspiring thought. It reminds us that we're all capable of, so much more than we often believe. So go challenge those assumptions, Embrace the power of impossible thinking and create the financial future you deserve. And, of course, keep reading those insightful books and turning those pages into, real-world riches.
That's all for this episode of Books to Riches. Thanks for joining us.